what happened last night in the National Basketball Association. A historic night in the NBA playoffs, which is the reason why the NBA regular season is the biggest Mickey Mouse regular season you ever see, and nobody needs to even watch it. Because what we are learning about these NBA playoffs, Josh, I've been telling you now for the last 6 months, it is a completely different sport. From tip one all the way to the final buzzer, it is intensity, it is moaning, it is complaining, it is getting it's getting to the basket. It is not the regular season where you're facing teams that half the time are tanking or half the times resting starters. These guys are going all out, and outside of some pretty boring game ones, outside of a couple, last night, two of the three games were absolutely spectacular down to the wire finishes. Let's start with Philly and the Knicks.
It, there's a lot of controversy about that ending, which I think Tyrese Maxey absolutely got fouled on that play.
Well, by the way, in the playoffs, they're not going to call that. Let me just say that right now, and I'm not going to be the guy to sit here and whine about officials, because across the NBA last night and during these playoffs, they have missed a lot of calls on both sides in every game on every team. So, to me, what the Sixers should be upset about is the fact that they let that lead go away. The fact that Joel Embiid would not box out Isaiah Hartenstein on that rebound when he kicked it out to DiVincenzo for what ended up being the game-winning three-point shot. And also, Tyrese Maxey essentially just lays on the ground and gives the ball up. He doesn't call for timeout. He doesn't fight for the ball from what I've seen from the replays from my point of view. And so for me, the Knicks won that game. They beat Philadelphia at their own game mentally and physically, and the Sixers are only crying they didn't get the timeout called because of bad execution, because you're the one that fell to the ground because you couldn't get the inbound pass clean when there's nobody in the corner which you could have ran to catch the ball.
You know what's interesting, and I heard this from a few talking heads. The New York Knicks are basically Villanova. This Knicks team has Jay Wright's stamp all over it. I mean, you got guys like Jalen Brunson, Dante DiVincenzo, Josh Hart.
How big was Josh Hart in game one? Like,
good
wow.
God. They all went to Villanova, and they are all embodying what Jay Wright instilled in them at Villanova, and it has come to fruition.
How about this for the Sixers? 2 times in 4 years. The first time Kawhi Leonard shot where one ding, 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 and in. That eliminated them. And then last night, what felt like to me was an elimination game. I know a lot of people don't think that. I think this series is over personally after you lose a game like that. But Jalen Brunson's shot that went off the front of the rim, then bounced in on that lucky bounce. It's just like Philadelphia to me does what Philadelphia sports teams have done, including my Eagles the last few years, and that's choke at every single moment possible and give that game away. And Philly, they gave the Knicks 2 good shots at it, and they blew them both.
Yeah. It's interesting you bring up the officiating. I've heard the Sixers are actually filing a grievance.
Oh, we're going to file a grievance because we lost the game. You know, that's what losers do. I'm dead serious. That's what losers do.
I'm not saying I agree with them filing the grievance. I'm just telling you that's what I've heard.
I'm serious. Quit this. How about play better? How about make more shots? How about defend the basket? How about not give up 7 points in 2 minutes or whatever it was? How about that?
How about on the possible game-winning shot, somebody come down and try to stop Isaiah Hartenstein so he doesn't have a clear path?
How about that? How about Joel Embiid, who I'm completely out on Joel Embiid. I'm done defending him. I'll say it right here, right now. He's not a superstar. He's out of my superstar category. He is the most overrated player in the NBA. He's never healthy. He's not available. When he is available, he falls down to the ground like he's a toddler every single play. I don't know what he's trying to do. Draw a foul, get hurt again. His knee hurts. His knee doesn't hurt. Give me a break, dude. Like, it's been 5 or 6 years now. Can you get to the conference finals?
we'll get to the Denver Nuggets here in a second.
Oh, I can't wait to talk about
Yeah,
Denver.
yes, but the reason I'm bringing them up right now is because why is that two-man game with Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray so effective? It's because they can count on Aaron Gordon. They can count on Michael Porter Jr. They can count on KCP. They've got Reggie Jackson coming off the bench. They've got Christian Brown coming off the bench. They have a strong supporting cast. When I look at Philadelphia in these first two games, where's Tobias Harris? Where's
Well, he's been washed for 4 years, and Philly thinks he's good. They've kept him around for way too long. Where is Buddy Hield? Where
Bingo?
is Kelly Oubre?
Bingo.
How about who was it? Nicholas Batum in that Miami game actually came alive. Where's Nick Batum been for these first two games?
Do you get what? Do you see what I'm saying though? Like
it's the Sixer way. It's why I said the Sixers are winning this series against the Knicks. I've seen too much of this movie with the Sixers.
oh yeah.
It's ridiculous. This team should be so much better. And, I will say this, in Joel Embiid's defense, even though he didn't qualify for the MVP award, you can clearly see why he's so valuable because the Sixers fall apart without him because Tyrese Maxey is not a number one. He's a number two. And Maxey played great last night. He tried to imitate Michael Jordan and play with the flu and almost pulled it off. But at the end of the day, when you don't have your best player and you dominate the game and you get outworked to lose that game, and I like Nick Nurse as a coach too. That's a disastrous way to lose. That may be a worse loss than what the Lakers suffered last night, which we're about to get to. You could make an argument.
You could for sure. Because the Lakers were up 20 and blew that.
Okay. So I'm just gonna say this right here, right now.
All right, let's get right to it.
No one is beating the Denver Nuggets. I don't even know if you can beat them 2 times in a series, let alone 4. As my webcam just fell off my computer here because I'm so fired up about the Denver Nuggets. As I told you last week, no one's beating Denver. I make a pretty good salary in my day job. I'd bet it all on the Denver Nuggets if I was a degenerate gambler. If this team is healthy, you can't beat them. I think the only way to beat this team, I was laying in bed, I should say, Saturday night at like 11:15. That's right after they came back. They beat the Lakers in game 1. Lakers played a great first half. They played a bad 2-minute stretch in the third quarter, and boom, it was pretty much ball game. I think the only way to beat Denver, Jokic has got to score 60, and everybody else has got to score 0. Jamal can't go for 25 and whatever. Porter can't go for 17. KCP can't go for 15. Jokic can have 50 and 10. He can't have 30 and 10 and 15. It's just too much. They're too good.
It's interesting you say that because if you watched that game last night, Jamal Murray was struggling for most of it.
And then he became that guy in the fourth. And this is what I'm talking about when I talk about your guy, Jason Tatum, and all these other players that everybody loves. They ain't that guy. I'll take that guy in Denver over that guy in Boston 7 out of 7 times of the week. Because when the money's on the table, when that shot needed to be made, Jamal Murray was that guy and made that shot at the time to win Denver that game, just like he did last year in games 2 and 3.
So let me ask you this. I know we have the nickname Playoff Jimmy for Jimmy Butler. Should we remove that nickname from him and give it to Jamal Murray?
Well, no, you're not removing Playoff Jimmy. I feel bad for Jimmy Butler. Miami might have had a shot to beat Boston in this series. Jimmy Butler is still that guy. You could just say Playoff Jamal for Jamal Murray because I don't know if you know this or not. Jamal Murray has had the most points increase from the regular season to the postseason out of any player in the history of the NBA. He averages 8 more points a game in the playoffs than in the regular season because that's when it matters.
Yeah, but for me, the key guy for the Nuggets last night was not Nikola Jokic. It was not Jamal Murray. For me, it was Aaron Gordon.
Well, for me, it was Michael Porter, who actually kept them afloat in the first half. And obviously, Jamal and Jokic did their thing. And you know what, man? The Lakers, I actually feel bad for because going into this series, I said I think the Lakers gave them a better shot. I think they could win a few games. They could take this to 6 or 7 games. My prediction was 7. I'm telling you, the Lakers have played 3 bad minutes this entire series so far, and they lost both games.
Yeah,
You could have not played a better game than they played last night, and they lost.
yeah. Um, just to go back, finish up my thought on Aaron Gordon super quick. Yeah, he didn't necessarily make the big shots like Michael Porter Jr. did, but late in that game, Aaron Gordon gets that 50-50 ball, and I think that was the play where he passed it out to Michael Porter Jr. for the tying
Yeah.
three-pointer. If Aaron Gordon did not get that 50-50 ball, Nuggets would not have won that game.
I mean, if I'm the Lakers, I'm like, I got everything I could from LeBron, who played one of the best fourth quarters in the playoffs he played since the 2018 game one against Golden State. I have a healthy Anthony Davis, who's actually pretty much neutralizing Jokic. LeBron is pretty much neutralizing Jamal Murray at this point. D'Angelo Russell hit 7 or 8 threes last night. He was on fire, and we still lost.
Yeah. What do we do with Austin Reeves at this point? What do we do with Rui
Well,
Hachimura?
Roy Hachimura cannot play in the postseason. I think Reeves just had a bad game last night. Reeves has historically shown he can play in the playoffs. For whatever reason, he was just cold last night. I think game 3 is going to be fascinating on Thursday night, and I see it happening the same way. Lakers get up, they play very well. Comes down to the wire, Denver makes a play or two, and that's it. It's over. And from what I see out of this Nuggets team, it's like to me they get a little bit behind. Michael Malone just calls timeout and says, "Okay, guys, go play defense now and go win the game." And that's what they do.
Yeah,
And
I
you
don't
can
think
make
they.
an argument. I've been thinking about this, Josh, and tell me what you think.
Go ahead.
Which team would you rather play? The current iteration of the Denver Nuggets or the Steph Durant Warriors? Because I'll make the argument, I'd rather play the Warriors. They didn't have the bench depth that this Denver team has. I think this Denver team is one of the best teams I've ever seen from top to bottom.
Wow, that's I'd have to really think about that one.
I said it 2 months ago on this show, and you guys said you want to wait and see. I called my shot. This is the next dynasty in the NBA. And they're not going away, by the way.
Yeah, I mean they'll have to, give Jokic an extension. They'll have to make sure they can afford to keep Aaron Gordon and some of their other key guys.
But by the way, I don't care who makes it out of the East. You're not beating Denver.
No.
I'm dead serious about this. Unless there's an injury to Denver, you can bet whatever amount of money you want on right now. Thank me, Uncle Brandon, for giving you advice when the Denver Nuggets become back-to-back NBA champions.
If it's Denver Boston in the finals, I'm fine with that.
I think Boston. Looking at it, I honestly think Boston will get wiped off the floor. I honestly, because they have a couple death bench guys. They may have a equal starting 5, but if Reggie Jackson and Christian Braun and Aaron Gordon gets involved, Boston doesn't have the manpower to overcome that.
Okay, I want to get to the big game tonight. Game 2, Target Center, Minneapolis, Minnesota. Bradley Beal, Devin Booker, Kevin Durant going against Rudy Gobert, Karl Anthony Towns, Anthony Edwards, and the Minnesota Timberwolves. Oh my God, did Anthony Edwards put on a show in game 1. That was unbelievable. And he was chirping at Kevin Durant. And, before the game, Anthony Edwards was saying, Kevin Durant is the guy I worshipped. Like, I grew up loving. And for him to go at Kevin Durant like that, I want to see the sequel tonight.
By the way, Kevin Durant made the worst mistake of his life going to Brooklyn and leaving Golden State. And we can clearly see that now. And I had said, I know you liked Phoenix in this series. I liked Minnesota, and I didn't even think it was close. I know Phoenix beat them 3 times in the regular season, and like I said, I don't care about the regular season in the NBA. I don't give a damn about it. The postseason is such a completely different sport. It's where the men play. It's where the grown teens play. Watching Denver Lakers and watching Minnesota Phoenix is honestly a different sport. I'm dead serious about it. There is a level of competition that you get from the best player in the world and then the next step down, which I think where both these teams are at. Anthony Edwards is great. Durant can play well, but Bradley Beal I always thought was a little bit overrated, even when he was in Washington. And I always never liked Devin Booker. I never thought Devin Booker, he tried to be Kobe, but when the money's on the line, he's not Kobe. I could say the same thing similarly about Jason Tatum in Boston. And Phoenix outside of Nikola Jokic, or not Nikola Jokic, but Nikola Jurcic, the former Blazers center.
Yusef Nurkic.
Yeah, outside of him, Phoenix doesn't have size. And so that's where I think the real advantage here is. And Anthony Edwards will always cook at home. Currently, Towns and Rudy Gobert can dominate on the boards. I would not be surprised if this is a 5 or a 6 game series, but Minnesota really does control Phoenix here.
So it's interesting you say that. The reason I picked Phoenix to win this series was because, yes, Minnesota has the size, but Phoenix has the jump shooting. And
they do, but they actually have inconsistent jump shooting, in my opinion. You cannot trust Bradley Beal now. He's always hurt half and half. Devin Booker, same thing. And again, Durant is usually his normal self. And I know Phoenix got hot at the end of the regular season, but as I've always said about the NBA end of the regular season, Josh, and it's true about a lot of teams, you actually look at it, half the teams are tanking, like 10 teams, and another 10 teams are resting starters for the playoffs. There's a legitimate 10 teams, and Phoenix was in this category, that was legitimately playing for seeding. And so I think that might have fooled some people. But in the end, outside of the Golden State Warriors, when have we ever seen a jump shooting team been successful in the playoffs? We haven't.
Yeah. It's generally been a balanced team like the Denver Nuggets that is able to rise to the top of the mountain. I'll tell you what, if we end up getting a Denver-Minnesota second-round series, where's my damn popcorn and my soda? Because I want to watch every single game of that series.
I don't think Minnesota would be ready for that smoke. I think because of their size, that could give Denver some issues. But again, I think Denver, just their other role players, would be the difference. They'd probably take care of them in 5 or 6. But that may be their toughest matchup. I will admit that.
Yeah, I think that would be a fascinating series if we were to get it in round 2, because I feel like 3 of the 4 regular season meetings between Minnesota and Denver came right down to the final minute. And I'm like, if we can get that in a playoff series, yes, please. Thank you very much.
So how about this stat? The last 2 wins the Milwaukee Bucks have had in the postseason have come without Giannis Antetokounmpo on the floor. What happened to your Eastern Conference Finals pick?
My hot take is already a little bit shaky.
It does not look good. They better win tonight.
Yeah, this is a must-win for Indiana tonight. Do I think Dame can replicate that type of performance? I'm not sure. We've seen Dame have these types of games before.
Mostly in the first round, may I remind people, because he only got to the Western Conference Finals once and then never won a game.
Yep. But my question is, can Dame go back-to-back? Can he carry the Bucks again? I don't know.
You know what's crazy? And I'm not saying this to be a hot take artist. I'm not saying this to say trade Giannis. But doesn't Milwaukee look better when he's not on the court?
I think it's because they brought in Doc Rivers late in the season, and it feels like Giannis and Dame are still trying to figure it out.
Well, last year they did too. Like I said, they beat Miami without him. They killed him.
Yeah, except Miami came back and whooped them the rest of the series.
They did, but they had Giannis in the rest of those games.
But if Giannis wasn't there for Game 6, the the Bucks would not have won the finals against the
Well,
Suns.
no, but we talked about this ever since that finals. That felt like a Mickey Mouse finals. Felt like a little bit of a bubble championship. It was right after COVID. The Bucks have not been the same.
Yeah, they they weren't able to beat the Celtics in Game 7 of that series.
No, they completely laid an egg in that game. So listen, I think if Milwaukee gets it right, I think that not only will they win this series, I think there's a chance they could beat the Knicks. So I wouldn't pick that situation. I just think I know you're a big fan of Tyrese Halliburton. If you look very hard at Indiana post All Star break, he has not been the same player. They have not been the same team, and they don't have a superstar. And I think Halliburton is a rising player, but I don't think he's at that level yet. And regardless if they have Giannis or not, Damian Lillard is still better than any player Indiana has. And when you have the two best players in the series, you can't lose.
Yeah, this is a big game for Milwaukee tonight, which a lot of people are pissed because this game's on the one on NBA TV, and Cavs fans were not able to watch Game 2 last night because it was on NBA TV, and for some reason NBA TV is blocked out in local areas. So
Well, that's an NBA thing. I think a lot of people are playing the Bowie. That's more of an NBA thing. Nonetheless, how about Luca and Dallas? That game against the Clippers wasn't even competitive, and I said this about Dallas. That's why I picked the Clippers in the series, Josh. A lot of people got caught up about, oh, look how great Luca and Kyrie are playing together. And two things. Again, number one, you look at that competition they played late in the year. It was a lot of the Spurs. It was a lot of Portland. It was the bad teams and the few bad teams in the West. The other thing is you're historically in the postseason. If your two guards are your top two scorers again outside of Steph and Clay, historically it doesn't work as well in the postseason. And if the Clippers can get contributions from James Harden the way they did in Game 1, from Russell Westbrook coming off the bench and not turning the ball over, sounds like they could get Kawhi Leonard back either in Game 2 or Game 3. Like, I actually think it's a must win for Dallas tonight as well because I think this Clippers team is built to beat Dallas specifically. I think it's a bad matchup for the Mavs.
I hope this series goes the full 7 because, as I told you last week, this was the series I circled as the one I'm most excited about because they've met twice in the playoffs since 2020, and both series have gone 6 and 7 games respectively. So I'm like, round 3 between the Mavericks and Clippers. I love this. So I really hope Dallas is able to bounce back and win this game because they need to, as you said.
I think if Kawhi Leonard plays, he could be the ultimate X factor in this series because we know when Kawhi's on, he's one of the best ball defenders in the league. So is Paul George. And if James Harden is playing the way he played with those assists and the fact he can make threes, Dallas does not have the inside presence as well, which is why Zubac was so big in Game 1, and I think he will continue to be. I think Dallas, it's like Luka and Kyrie pretty much have to go for 35 or 40 apiece, like Kyrie and LeBron did in Game 5 of the 2016 Finals. That's how I feel like Dallas has to win this series. They get 80 points a night from Luka and Kyrie, and I don't think it's sustainable.
My question, though, is if Kawhi comes back, can James Harden play the same way he did in Game 1?
I
Or
think he can because I think he's the third option and he's still a facilitator.
so, but again, I have to ask the same question. Did James Harden play the way he did because Kawhi wasn't there? You know,
Yeah, no, that's it. But then again, we did see what Tyronn Lue did without Kawhi Leonard. It's almost a Bucks Giannis here with the Clippers and Kawhi. We saw what they did 3 years ago when they went to the Western Conference Finals with Paul George, Terrence Mann, Reggie Jackson, and all those guys. Obviously, Reggie's in Denver now, but a lot of those pieces are still there.
that is true. So this these two games are going to be fat. All 3 of these games are going to be fascinating tonight. You
How
got
about Oklahoma City and New Orleans? This was one that was a weird game for me because it's two very young teams. Oklahoma City, I still don't feel like they're a number one seed, even though they certainly had a great regular season. both teams felt kind of tight to me. This is a situation where I feel like if New Orleans steals a game here, this could go longer than it probably should. My biggest takeaway in this series is whoever wins this series is not going to last to the Western Conference Finals.
They would play the winner of the Mavericks Clippers
Yeah,
series.
I think both would get beat by them pretty easily, to be honest with you.
You think Oklahoma City would lose to either Dallas or the Clippers?
Yeah, I do. Especially the Clippers with those wing defenders and their veteran experience. And then Luca, by the way, as great as Shea has been, I would take Luca, and Shed Ongram is very big. But I think that Dallas would just probably outshoot Oklahoma City.
Yeah, and then New Orleans would be at a disadvantage because they would start the series on the road for the second consecutive series.
I think in New Orleans at Zion, they probably could beat Oklahoma City. I am not impressed by Oklahoma City. I think they're just a year away.
See, I'm quite the opposite there. I am impressed by Oklahoma City. Maybe they're a year away, like you said, but this is a huge first step for them.
So we got to talk about the fact that the Cavaliers are up 2-0. And maybe this is hateful. I didn't feel good about either win. The Cavs should have won both those games by 30 points, if you ask me. If they played any other good team that could shoot, the Cavs would be down 0-2 right now. Orlando, I think, is a year away. I think they're pups, but Orlando never quit. And every time I thought the Cavs could just bury them, whether they were up 20 or 25, Orlando would go on a quick 10-0 run and cut the lead right back. To me, if you give Orlando life, and if Orlando wins this game 3, we got a series.
Yeah, I feel like this series should probably go 5, but if Orlando wins game 3, which I think is tomorrow, if I'm not mistaken, um, this series could end up going 6, maybe 7.
After game 1, my first thought was this series is going 7 games. Because I did not think, even though the Cavs won by 14, again, I thought they should have won that by at least 25. I did not think they played well. I thought they let Orlando hang in the game, especially when you're a team that's shooting 30% from the field and you only lose the game by 15. You should feel good about yourself.
So, one of the keys for me in terms of why the Cavaliers won, specifically game 1, go back and watch the first quarter. About midway through, they implored, I should say, a very interesting lineup that I really liked. I believe it was Jared Allen at center. They had George Niang at power forward. They had Karis LeVert out there along with Donovan Mitchell and Max Strus. So you've got 2 playmakers in LeVert and Mitchell, but they're also shooters. You've got 2 shooters out there in Strus and Niang, and then you've got a big man in Jared Allen.
Yeah, if I'm Orlando to that, I'm making the adjustment. By the way, I think I would start Wendell Carter at center over Jonathan Isaac, and I think Orlando needs to take advantage when the Cavs go small. Because I disagree with you. I don't like that lineup. I think that's a very small lineup that Orlando's just not taking advantage of.
Yeah, I can see where you're coming from, but again, with Mitchell and LeVert, you've got the playmakers. With Strus and Niang, you've got the shooters. Allen gives you that size on the inside.
You do, but here's the thing, and you know this about me. I don't trust LeVert at all. He had a great game too last night. Even at home, I don't know what I'm going to get from him or Okoro or Niang.
Yeah, Okoro, I have this thing with Okoro. If he does not score at least 10 points in every game of this series, failure.
Well,
that's just me because he was a lottery pick the year he was drafted. And for a couple years, he was the starting small forward. So he was going against guys like Giannis, Chris Middleton, Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown. I could keep going on and on. Those guys are able to, I know they're all superstars or all-stars. I get it. But they're all able to average 15 points, 20 points. Giannis.
Small forward is the most premium position in all basketball. It's where the best talent is.
So But that's my point is I'm not saying that Coral needs to go out and match them and get 30 points a game, but like, can I count on you to at least give me 10? And try and
Should not be the standard for the number 5 overall pick. I would have gotten. I know we talked about this before. I would have gotten rid of Okoro a couple years ago. Now I know she played great last night. It was one of the reasons why the Cavaliers won the game. Still not the biggest fan of Okoro. Still not the
neither am
biggest
I.
fan of the. Still not the biggest fan of the coach, who I don't think has a single clue what he's doing. And the only reason why the Cavs are winning this game is because Orlando can't shoot. And it's very apparent to me this is such an old school series. And when I talk about the NBA as a different sport, watch a Magic Cavs series and watch a Nuggets Lakers game or a T Wolf. They don't look the same. The Cavs and Magic are playing a different sport. They're playing 80s, 90s basketball. The Nuggets are playing 2024 basketball. I know that's a standard, but when you talk about playoff teams, like I know everybody's like, oh, I think the Cavs could handle Boston. You think the way the Cavs are playing Orlando right now, they'd even take a game off Boston? Because I don't.
Well, we're we're most likely going to get that matchup in the second round. And considering how we've played against Boston, both this season and last season, I think that would be a fantastic series. I really and truly do.
Well, we're gonna see about that because I think Boston's gonna. Miami might get one at home just because of heat culture, but that's probably a sweep. When Jimmy Butler goes down, I mean, nothing against the Heat, but come on. I
Yeah,
mean, and
yeah,
I mean, I'm just gonna be honest with you. If Boston's as good as they are, they should wipe the floor with Cleveland or God help us, Orlando. Um, I mean, boy, this will be the easiest Mickey Mouse road in the NBA found out. People have said LeBron's road to the finals was easy. It wasn't as easy as this.
yeah,
This is ridiculous.
yeah. I mean, the only tough series Boston might get is in the Eastern Conference Finals, whether they play New York or
And
Milwaukee.
by the way, the Knicks are basically a one-trick pony with Jalen Brunson, who has struggled in this series and will probably be worn down by the time they get to Boston.
Yeah, if they get to Boston, although Milwaukee or Indiana might have something to
Yeah,
say about that.
if they play Indiana in the conference final, they'll sweep them.
Yeah,
It will be a Celtics or it will be a Bucks Hawks matchup all over again. I mean, it's for nothing against Boston. They had a great regular season. Good for you. Like it doesn't count. Did you
you
see
mean
what the did you see
you
what
mean
the
Indiana?
no? I'm talking about Boston. They're the greatest regular season ever. I don't give a shit.
Oh, I
I don't
oh
care.
I get what you're saying. I get what you're
Did,
saying now.
did you see what the Bucks Twitter account tweeted out before game one?
No, I missed it.
It was something about okay, the regular season's over. Not that anybody cares about it anyway. Because it's true. It's what I've been telling you. The watch a playoff game and watch a regular season game. It's a different freaking sport, man. It's where the grown men start playing, and the difference between a Cavs Magic series and a Nuggets Lakers series is also a different. It's not even the same sport.
It really is. You're right. Um, and
That's why I keep telling you. You were so excited for these big primetime NBA TV games, and I barely watch any primetime NBA TV games because I don't care what you do in March because the players are telling you we don't care what happens in March, and the TV networks reportedly who are negotiating the new TV deals are telling the NBA we don't want the regular season, which is why they created the play-in tournament.
yeah, um, and maybe that's just me hyping up these regular season games more than they should be, but it's just like I see certain matchups and I'm like, oh, that's an intriguing matchup. Like Boston, Milwaukee, or if it's like Dallas against, I don't know, Dallas, Phoenix, given their history. Like
Well,
some,
I think it used to be that way, but for some reason, ever since COVID hit and the new young stars sort of entered the league, the regular season has become meaningful.
so it's interesting you bring up the young stars because last week on the show when we were talking about the playoffs, you were telling me that you care more about the veteran teams rather than the young teams. After the we've had a majority of the first two games of each series. I know we have some game twos to finish up tonight, but has your opinion on that changed at all?
No, and I forgot to mention this last week, so I'll say it here. The Nuggets Lakers series for me is the NBA Finals. I think the winner of that series will be the NBA champion. And I think it will obviously be Denver, and I think it will be the best series of the entire playoffs.
Really?
Even if it's a 4 game sweep, I think it will be the most entertaining 4 games you'll see, as we've already seen in the first two.
Let me go back to that Lakers Nuggets series super quick because we were talking about it earlier. LeBron got hot in that fourth quarter, but I knew Denver was going to win when he missed that wide open three after I think it was KCP fell down.
Yeah. I mean, it was almost like the Michael Jordan push off. LeBron, perfect shot, and just rattles in and out. Then Denver smartly doesn't take a timeout.
Right.
Jamal Murray with the game winning shot.
Yes. You know what that shot reminded me of when LeBron missed it? Go back to Game 6 of the 2013 NBA Finals. LeBron takes a similar shot. Chris Bosh just so happened to be there for the rebound. Kicks it out to Ray Allen for one of the most legendary shots in NBA history.
You can make an argument the most legendary shot because it brought people literally trying to get back into the arena.
Yes. So it was a similar situation.
And it was on the stage in the finals. And you will hear me say this over and over again. You're going to get annoyed with me over the next 2 months because if you play well in the first round, great. If you don't play well in the finals, I don't give a damn. Each round you go up and up and up. It means more and more. April, May, and June are the only 3 months in the NBA calendar that matter. We find out who that guy is, who the clutch players are, and who the players I want when the game is really on the line. Why you get paid.
Yeah. And again, the key guy for me in the rest of the way, not just in this Lakers series, but all the way to the finals, is Aaron Gordon.
Well, NBA-wise, what I'm worried about, just to go back to our original conversation about old versus young, is LeBron's going to probably be out after this round. I suspect Durant will be out after this round. If Dallas beats the Clippers, the only old star, and old I'm putting in quotation marks, is Damian Lillard and Giannis with Milwaukee. That would be the last remaining sort of old mid. Every old guy would pretty much be gone. And is Denver, because I don't know if you saw this, Nikola Jokic isn't even on the top 10 of merchandise sales in the NBA. I don't even think he's in the top 20. It's amazing for him being the best player in the world. I wonder, for the NBA's sake, is Denver a ratings draw? Because at the end of the day, that's what matters, and that's what worries me.
Yeah.
Because as great of fans as we are, I think you like it. I like Anthony Edwards. I think you really like Anthony Edwards, and that is a difference. You're a big fan of Jason Tatum. I'm not. Donovan Mitchell, I think is a well-known star. We'll see if the Cavs can get to that level where he can be on the national stage. But it's like the big names that everybody knows in the NBA, they're not there. And these guys are puppies. But how much of a draw will they be to a national audience? That is a question and a big concern for me.
Yeah, and that's part of the reason why the NFL has taken over as like America's sport versus like Major League Baseball or the NBA or
Roger Goodell reading a card on Thursday night will get more views than the NBA Finals.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. For that matter, that's why women's college basketball absolutely destroyed men's college basketball because you had Caitlin Clark.
Her first game in the WNBA may beat the NBA Finals, and it probably will. And that's a kudos to the WNBA, but for the second biggest sport in America, the National Basketball Association, that's a huge problem. And no disrespect to the WNBA, but that's a huge problem.
Yeah. And the WNBA is already looking into possibly expanding. And check this out. There have been 2 teams now, the Las Vegas Aces and the Washington Mystics, who have had to move their respective games against the Indiana Fever into bigger arenas because of the draw of Caitlin Clark. So
all I'm saying is, when a WNBA draft goes from 500,000 viewers the year before to 4.5 million or whatever it was, and your league has been losing ratings for the last 2 decades because you're still trying to hang on to Michael Jeffrey Jordan, you got an issue.
Yeah.
And a lot of people have called the NBA soft, and a lot of people don't like this new NBA because let's face it, even though we're Cavs fans, that Cavs Magic series is boring. And they're laying up bricks like houses, man. You can build a house out of the amount of bricks they're shooting in that series.
Yeah.
It's not aesthetically fun basketball. It's just not. Denver, the Lakers, maybe Minnesota, to a certain extent, Boston, if they're shooting well. There's not a lot of aesthetically pleasing basketball teams out there.
No, there really isn't. I wouldn't even say Milwaukee is an aesthetically
They're
pleasing.
not.
Yeah.
Indiana's fun, but they're not that good. I mean, they're a playoff team. You like them more than I do, but I don't think they're that great to watch.
Yeah. I like Golden State's still pretty good to watch.
But Golden State was a big loss for the NBA. I think that's why me and you wanted to pick them so bad because they're a huge loss. They're a draw. I want to get to my TV set to watch that team.
Yeah, especially like when they were playing LeBron, whether he was with Cleveland or in LA.
The last great rivalry in the NBA, as I said, was Cavs Warriors. And even though the Lakers have beat Denver 9 straight times, that feels like more of a rivalry.
The other way. Denver has beaten the
Denver
Lakers.
has beaten the Lakers 10 straight times. It feels like more of a rivalry than Bucks Celtics or any of these other rivalries.
Yeah.
To me.
And I totally see that perspective. But I don't get it. The Nuggets beat the Lakers on ring ceremony night. Then Lakers unveil their Kobe statue. What happens? Nuggets beat them. LeBron reaches 40,000 career points. What happens? Nuggets beat them.
So I make the argument they're better than that Kevin Durant Golden State team. I mean, at least those games were close. These games sometimes aren't even close.
I know.